Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to share this with you today. Rare in South Carolina is the first snowfall of 20 and 25. Although the amount of snow that came down this particular day was minuscule compared to our snow hike in Buffalo, New York at 3 feet, we were overjoyed to see some of that miracle snow. And I thought that my Jeep looked incredibly aesthetic with this new white paint job. Please forgive the glazing here. This was also the first time that my dog ever got to see snow, and frankly, she went absolutely insane for it, but hey, good for her. As funny as it might sound, this snow and later ice mixture was enough to shut down the entirety of town. And that is likely due to the fact that before you here is the only snowplow in the area, a small hobby tractor. Oh dear. But that wouldn't stop the Eager Beavers from doing their part to keep our city beautiful. Job well done. But enough of that, ladies and gentlemen. You see, a snowfall in the south doesn't last very long at all, so we changed outfits pretty quickly and we were about to hit the trail. Come along with us now on this adventure. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We're back at the Clemson Experimental Forest, and specifically today we're here by the Calhoun Cemetery and the Keowee Heights. We are experiencing the winter storm of the season. So devastating, in fact, that it shut down the city and it's probably going to disappear in 3 hours from now. But we're here to experience the beauty of nature and winter all at the same time here at Clemson today. So, join the gang and come along with us today. And starting off today's team lineup is everyone's ever so beloved character, Tauntaun. And everyone's favorite man with a jovial smile here is Blake. And finally, here before our great fallen comrade is the wonderful Edom. And with that head count now completed, let's move forward with today's excellent hike and see what we can discover along the way. Keowee Heights and Calhoun Cemetery are both major pieces of history for Clemson University in South Carolina. Along with this being a historic location, it is also an area of wildlife management for hunting as well as then recreational sport. In a moment, we'll go over the history of this area. However, for now, let's focus on the hiking because this winter hike is about to turn into a wet rain hike because everything around us is melting. Something that I really love about winter hikes in this area is the fact that many people are deterred from coming out here due to the environment, which means that for us, the entirety of the trail is now open for our own exploration, rather like a private hiking area. Another item that I love here is the fact that we can now more easily see animal footprints. In this case, what we have before you here are deer print. Notice the hoof? Here's a find from Edom, which are either rabbit or squirrel prints. Notice those strong hind legs ready to jump at a moment's notice and catapult them forward. Good find. And here's a fairly good example of a field mouse at work. You can see him quickly scurry away if you're close enough, but these are the tracks he left. And this final shot comes from Blake, who is able to find a squirrel running up a fallen tree. This is a really fun find. From there, we make our way further down the road, and for setting human footprints, I can tell you it's actually quite nice. The roads are very wide out here, and you're going to find yourself constantly surrounded by poplar, pine, and a few oak trees. Ladies and gentlemen, it is currently 35 degrees out, and surprisingly for some of you, that means it's time to shuck a layer off because I'm getting heated. It's actually a warm day. Now, when we were out in Buffalo, I remember it being 13 degrees with wind, and we didn't want to take any of these off, so I'm quite pleased that we live in South Carolina where I can go practically sleeveless and just enjoy the beauty of this day. Believe it or not, the entirety of the team soon decided it was best to shuck a few layers off and then keep hiking, because once you're out here, you get warm fairly quickly, especially with the sun out. Most of that first mile and a half is fairly uneventful. Again, these roads are built almost for logging, but there is serenity to be found in this area. As a note to our fellow travelers, the first sign you're getting close is this John Deere tractor. This tractor here is at a fork in the road, which thus marks the beginning of the Arrowhead Trail, which is a large loop. We took the route to the right, and Edom almost tripped and died here, but it was entertaining. And Tauntaun and I took it a bit slower and just crossed a tree here so we could get up to see the historical markers at the top of this hill.
I'm not doing what he did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, once you go away from that crossroads up there, you immediately come to another crossroads, which gives us 4 options for what we can see next out here at Clemson. So, for starters, come in here with me. If we take this downward section here, you can go to the old spring house, and this is just an old residence that is downhill from when this used to be agricultural land. Further, when we keep going up here, that's the Calhoun Cemetery, which we're going to see in just a minute. Further, we have a few more. We have the old home site, which is again is an old inhabitants from when this used to be land for agricultural purposes. It's just the highest point in this area, supposedly. So come along with us, and we're going to toss a coin and see which one we see first.
And here is our incredibly scientific approach to a coin toss. The cemetery is the winner, and that's where we're going first. Before you here is the John Ewing Calhoun Cemetery. This particular cemetery belongs to the one and only John Ewing Calhoun and family. John Ewing Calhoun would be the father of Fluoride Calhoun, who in turn was the wife of future American Vice President John C. Calhoun. Quite a family. Just behind this rock barrier is where the majority of the Calhoun family are now buried, save for John C. Calhoun, who is currently located in Charleston, South Carolina. Grave markers here are as young as the American Civil War and as late as the mid-1700s for the Calhoun family. From there, the team decided to go down to the spring house next, which for our gradies went downhill. This grade is nothing particularly arduous by any means. However, keep in mind to play it safe when going down icy conditions. This downhill eventually leads to a creek bed, and this particular creek is going to lead you to the primary destination of the day. Here on the creek itself is the spring house, which is nicely nestled away here in a small corner of the forest. For over 200 years, this small structure has stood, so take a minute to really grasp that.
Well, boys and girls, we have made it here to the spring house, and I have to admit to you, I am not an archaeological expert on this particular site, but there's a sign here, so let me brush it off for you, and we'll see what this is all about. Isn't that better? So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, something like an 18th century refrigerator. This was a housing that would have had a wooden roof on top, and cool water would have been going underneath, keeping the relative interior temperature at something like 55 degrees. Further, something like this sandstone here would actually help to keep it a bit more refrigerated for goods back then. This was a housing that was kept for the food and other perishables for the plantation, which is further up on this hill again. But isn't this just something wonderful to see? We're incredibly fortunate that it's still here, and serves as a testament to the people and settlers who came here during the 16, 17, and 1800s. Fascinating.
Here again is a much better up-close view of what this ice house used to look like. We're also extremely fortunate that that fallen tree did not damage this structure. And here is a really interesting find as well. This is a square-headed nail, which is one of the oldest forms of nails you could possibly find. Although our time down in the spring was now over, that really didn't stop us from continuing our exploration. Further, Eagle-Eyed Edom was about to discover something really incredible up ahead.
So originally we had planned for this to just be a funny little bit of Pendleton laying on the ground, but this is actually a great spot for a nice bushcraft shelter. Start a little fire, somewhere in this little vicinity right here, clear out the snow, and the heat will actually reflect off of the root ball down into your sleeping position. It's actually really nice if you know, obviously you don't want to create like a whole little hunting shelter or lean-to, but you know, it's a nice little spot to get you out of the wind, get you out of the cold, and it actually looks pretty comfortable.
You made my house all dirty.
Sorry, we'll vacuum a little bit.
With that concluded, we now make our way to the final visit of the Keowee Heights and the original home for the plantation. Although this is called the Keowee Heights, it's not particularly high up, and if anything, the mud and ice make it a more difficult climb than any sense of elevation. However, there is a real treat at the top. Very close to the summit and at the location of where the old Calhoun house used to be is an area with a clearing that has an absolutely magnificent view of the surrounding Keowee Lake. The great serenity before you here is Lake Keowee, and just across the water is the rest of Clemson University's town and campus. This also serves as the perfect area to sit down and have a picnic, because you're really not going to get a view like this anywhere else.
Is it in you?
And Edom here, we can all agree, has the right idea.
Down on creation and the only explanation I can find.
At this moment, I'd like to thank Miss Aiken for packing my lunch today. Thanks, Mom.
The Keowee Heights really do give us the most beautiful opportunity to look at God's green earth and enjoy a sandwich. We were also treated to a view of the Clemson rowing team practicing, and naturally, being such great team sportsmen, we had to cheer them on.
Row, 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 row.
However, all good things do come to an end, and eventually, after finishing up lunch, we made our way to the top of the heights to visit the old Calhoun house at the very top. From under the shade of this very tall tree are the remains of the once formerly grand Calhoun house. Within this overgrowth of weeds, you can actually see the original house's foundation, as well as a plethora of old brick, as Tauntaun has discovered up here. The Keowee Heights was built in the year of 1792, and for almost 100 years it would be the primary seat of the Calhoun family in the area. However, in the year of 1880, the house caught fire and it was never repaired again, now left in largely a ruined state. This is all that remains of the house in the modern day and age. However, the archaeological eye will be able to tell that at one point a house did sit on this very land. The plethora of red brick surrounding the site should also really give away the fact that this used to be a residence. This house serves as an excellent example of what life was like in the area during the 18 and 1700s. However, it really is such a shame to find the house in such a poor state of disarray. Concluding our historical discoveries, we now make our way back towards Arrowhead Trail to finish our hike for the day. Starting off on Arrowhead Trail, it's a fairly open logging road. However, fairly soon it'll start to cut way down to the coast. And here is where you get some of the most beautiful views of today. Going off the trail ever so slightly, you get to see Lake Keowee up close and personal. And at this time of year, you have your own private beachhead, which is so hard to be upset with. Moments like these are always worth taking advantage of, and certainly, the team was more than happy to come out here to the shore and explore some. It's also a great opportunity to come out and skip stones. In this case, Adam got 3. The serenity of the water is always welcome. However, we can't stay here all day, so we move ahead on the trail now. We are fortunate as well that getting back to the trail is actually incredibly easy from here because the trail follows the coastline very closely. And you might think that from here, the trip is pretty much done. However, we had one more very interesting moment up ahead. Just watch Blake here in slow-mo for a second. Right here is where Blake nearly ruined his entire trip. Fortunately, he was okay, but us getting through this silly little mud hole turned out to be a little more difficult than we thought.
All right, so even though we are on a fairly easy trail, just small things like this right here. Walking down the hill, if you're not paying attention to the ground or anything like that, this slick mud here, as you can see what I did, I don't know if we caught it on camera or not, but I just started sliding down. Luckily, I was able to catch myself. I didn't fall, didn't get hurt or anything, but just something to be mindful of when you're out here walking the trails.
And those excellent words of advice from Blake should have been where we finished this section right here. However, we didn't take our own advice, and soon more trouble occurred.
Now, you may think this is a little redundant, but literally seconds after Blake just got done with that one shot, I did the exact same thing. Water bottle flew out of my bag onto the ground. You really gotta be careful out here.
And here is an excellent example of what playing in the mud will do to your outfit. But fortunately, our friend Edom here is tough. Though he might want to wash up. So when you're out here, maybe just ask for a hand up to get out. From that point, our hike was essentially done. So, what are our final thoughts on being out here at the Calhoun Cemetery, as well as the Keowee Heights, and what is it like to hike this particular environment?
Well, boys and girls, we are finished out here from the Doyle Bottom Road and completing our loop out here at Arrowhead Trail. It really was a wonderful time, we have to admit, but that being said, yeah, it's a touch taxing there at the very end. That being said, really gotta love the sights out here and everything that you see going on. It's incredible to see so many archaeological sites that relate to Clemson directly, and frankly, it puts a smile on my face. We really encourage you to come out here and play it safe, but right now, I need to go get in a fist fight with two of our guys because they're throwing snowballs at me. I'm gonna do that. Now, this area is in a constant state of change. As much as we see it being deforested, it's also being reforested and repopulated. So don't worry too much about what's going on here at the Experimental Forest. It's certainly going to be alive for a long time. That being said, as much as they try to protect these historical landmarkers, we don't know how long they'll actually be here for you to see. So please, come out and see them while you still can. They are an incredible piece of American and Carolinian history. Well, thus concludes our amazing adventure for today. Simple, fairly easy, but beautiful and nice. Although we didn't really get to enjoy the entirety of our snow day, considering most of it melted, we still got to enjoy it for as much as a Carolinian and Southerner can. So, with that being said, I bid you all a good day. If you've enjoyed our content, please like and subscribe. And of course, until next time, this is the Eager Beaver, signing off.